everyone, welcome to Science Lab. The signs are happening because Jesus is coming. Every day we are looking at some of the signs that are happening around us. In this episode, we are going to see the signs in Israel.
The one minority society loves to hate. The world is agitating for another, even more horrific Holocaust.
In Europe, Jews are once again behind bars, not in concentration camps yet. But whenever they gather in synagogues, Jewish schools, or other cultural centers, they are doing so behind walls, fences, gates, and guards. In Paris' main Jewish district, French soldiers patrol the streets.
Synagogues in Europe, big cities spend about a quarter of their budgets on security. In some places, it's as high as 50%. In May 2019, German Chancellor Angela Merkel warned that every synagogue and Jewish school in Germany requires constant police protection.
Meanwhile, the deadliest anti-Semitic attack in recent United States history occurred in October 2018, when a gunman killed 11 at a synagogue in Pittsburgh. On June 2019, Ellen Carr, U.S. Special Envoy for Monitoring and Combating Anti-Semitism, told a conference in Jerusalem, "We live in a time of danger. Any synagogue, every Jewish community center should have guards." In Paris last year, a Holocaust survivor was murdered in her own apartment in an anti-Semitic attack. Almost exactly a year before, a Jewish widow was murdered in the same neighborhood under similar circumstances. In 2015, 4 were killed in an attack on a kosher supermarket. 40% of all violent hate crimes in France are anti-Semitic, despite Jews being less than 1% of the population. For every murder, there are thousands more death threats, attack on Jewish buildings, and other anti-Semitic crimes. Jewish parents receive phone calls threatening to murder their children. Jewish drivers find notes on their parked cars saying they are being watched. Jewish pedestrians walked by graffiti saying that Hitler had the right idea. The statistics are all heading in all wrong direction. In France, anti-Semitic acts were up 74% in 2018 compared to 2017. In the United States, they doubled. In Germany, they rose 20%, with violent attacks up to 60%. The United Kingdom had set new records for the largest number of anti-Semitic incidents in each of the last 3 years.
The unique thing about this spike is that there is no immediate cause. Previous surges in anti-Semitic violence in the West have occurred in tandem with major events in the Middle East surrounding the Jewish nation of Israel, the Second Intifada, or in the war in Gaza, for example. In recent years, there has been no trigger. Soaring anti-Semitism is just the new normal.
The problem is getting so bad that Jews fear to show them publicly. Germany's anti-Semitism commissioner, Felix Klein, said Jews should avoid wearing their kippahs in some areas to avoid attack. In Netherlands, nearly half of Jews said they are afraid to identify as Jews in public.
This anti-Semitism is not being committed by European governments yet, but across Europe, political parties with anti-Semitic links are gaining power. In some regions of Germany, the Alternative für Deutschland is the most popular party. One of the party's state leaders has strongly criticized Germany for building Holocaust memorials and has said, The nation should be proud of the accomplishments of its soldiers in World War II. In Hungary, Jobbik, the country's second most popular party, has routinely engaged in anti-Semitism. In 2012, one of the members of parliament called for the government to draw up a list of all the Jews in the nation, since they were a national security risk. In 2013, the party chairman said their country was not for sale to Jews. Across Hungary, 20% say they want Jews to leave the country, up to from 12% in 2006. 13% want restrictions on the number of Jews who can work certain jobs. Austria's Freedom Party was, until recently, part of the government. The party was founded by two former members of the Waffen-SS. In France, members of the Welle West movement, which organized weeks of mass protests across the nation, showed worrying signs of anti-Semitism. 44% of them said they believed there is a global Zionist plot for Jews to rule the world. Even in the United Kingdom, the Labour Party is facing a statutory investigation to determine if it is institutionally anti-Semitic. In July, the BBC's Panorama program asked, "Is Labour anti-Semitic?" The hour-long expose showed Jewish Labour members describing the barriers of persecution they have received since Jeremiah Corbyn became party leader in 2015, as well as the way party leadership has protected anti-Semitism. As anti-Semitism rises, memories are fading off. What has happened historically when Jewish hatred has surged? A CNN poll published in November 2018 surveyed more than 7,000 people in mainland Europe and Britain. More than one-third, 34%, know little nothing about the violence against the Jews in the World War II era. About 5% have never heard of the Holocaust. In France, that figure is 20% among 18 to 34 years olds.
Familiar with the history of the Holocaust, about 32% say the Jews used the memory of it to advance their own position or goals. Almost 20% of Europeans say they believe that anti-Semitism is a justifiable reaction to Jewish behavior. About 28% say it is in response to the nation of Israel itself.
No wonder that in Austria, 58% say they believe that something like the Holocaust could happen again. These are deeply alarming figures.
And now it's time for the trivial question of the day. What is the total population of the Jews living all over the world?
Option A, 10.7 million. Option B, 20.7 million. And option C, 50.7 million.
The answer after a short break.